Marbella, a town that you can walk and a city that you can live. Marbella is one of the very few places in Europe where you get the lifestyle of a major city and the feeling of a town, and those two things almost never exist in the same place at the same time. Most places with world-class infrastructure, the hospitals, the schools, the restaurants, the connectivity, are large cities, and large cities come with everything that goes with that: the traffic, the pace, the noise, the distance from nature. And most places that feel like a town, small, scale, human, walkable, calm, don't have the services. You're always trading one for the other, unless you choose Marbella. Marbella doesn't make you trade. That's what makes it unusual. That's why the best way to describe Marbella is imagining a town that you can walk and a city that you can live. I'm Marto Loginov, CEO of Drumelia, and after living here since I was 5 years old and 17 years in real estate here, I still have not found another place that can do this. I don't know if you people realize how much Marbella changed for the better in the years after COVID. That changed everything. Today I want to explain exactly why. I'll start with things that you probably already heard and then take it further than you expect, and I'll get into things that most people don't even talk about, things that I've only really understood after years of living and working here. And as a bonus, on the link below you can download my personal list of my best 30 restaurants in Marbella in order, and my to-do list in Marbella with small kids and without. Let me start with something that happened a few years ago, because it explains a lot about why Marbella is where it is today. Before COVID, I had clients who came here for 2 months a year, maybe 3. They loved it, but Marbella was still for them a holiday place. Then the world stopped, and people had time to think about what they actually valued, about how they wanted to live, not just how they were used to living. And the amount of people that came to Marbella, bought properties and moved here simply exploded over the next few years, and they never left. And this attracted major investments. Big world brands moved to Marbella over the last 5 years. The result, a Marbella city emerged that competes in service, leisure, hospitality, and more with the world top destinations. But Marbella beautiful town feeling remained unchanged. This we always had. We're at the same time unlucky that the Marbella Town Hall always prioritized protecting nature over building volumes, over any major investments that could have been attracted. And believe me, because I've suffered losing 100 million investment over Town Hall strict regulations. So Marbella didn't change. The lifestyle didn't change, the weather didn't change. What changed was the high class and variety of offerings in every single service sector. After COVID, everyone prioritized lifestyle, and so many people for that reason chose to move to Marbella from all around the world. Now, our priorities have shifted back, as is human nature, and therefore this video is also about reminding everyone how lucky we are to live in Marbella, and maybe you can put Marbella on your priority list or your goal list and one day discover it for yourself. So what's so special? Marbella has around 160,000 permanent residents. Everything is close. You can live your entire daily life, gym, schools, office, meetings, lunch, beach, evening walk, all of that within just a few kilometers. For most people living here, most of what they need is a 10 to 15 minute drive at most. And for some, everything is walkable. At the same time, you have everything that normally requires a city: private hospitals with multilingual staff, international schools with globally recognized programs, Michelin-starred restaurants, a world-class marina, direct flights to 40 countries or 160 cities, golf courses designed by the best in history, great hotels with more scheduled to open. And that combination, scale of a town, quality of a city, is unique. I thought about this seriously, and I haven't found another place in Europe that does that. The places with city-level services are cities. Cities can be exhausting. The places that feel like towns are towns. Towns are missing things. Marbella is the exception. A lot of what makes this daily life possible starts, of course, with the weather. And we have the Sierra Blanca mountain rising directly behind Marbella that acts as a natural barrier. So cold northern air hits it and doesn't come through to Marbella. And other towns on the Costa del Sol gets wind that Marbella doesn't. So we truly have a microclimate here that is softer. Then we have around 320 days of sunshine a year. In summer, that's up to 15 sunshine hours per day, with the sun rising at 7 a.m. and sunset close to 10 p.m. And in the winter, the shortest day still catches almost 10 hours of sunshine, with sunrise at 8:15 and sunset at 6 p.m. A typical January, imagine, is around 16 degrees. You eat on the beach on a sunny day. And in July and August, average highs of around 29 to 30 degrees, with still a refreshing breeze of the Mediterranean. What does this mean practically? This means that you run, you walk, you train and cycle outside every month of the year. You don't own a heavy coat. Your mood in February is not what it would be in London, Amsterdam or Stockholm, and multiply that across 365 days. For instance, I'm someone who genuinely dislikes running, but I try to run every week here because everything around you makes it enjoyable. The weather removes every single excuse you might have to not do things that make you feel good. And over time, that adds up to a beautiful life. There's a rainy season though. Usually it's like 2 or 3 weeks, somewhere between January and March. Each year it can be different. When it happens, I always have the same thought. I can't believe that people live in places where this is a norm. And when the sun comes back after days of rain, you feel so appreciative of what you have. It's a very beautiful moment. Now, something that surprises people who imagine Marbella as a remote luxury destination. This place is extremely well connected to the rest of the world. Malaga Airport is 45 minutes away. In 2024, it handled nearly 25 million passengers. That's Spain's 4th busiest, behind only Madrid, Barcelona and Mallorca. You can fly direct from London, Amsterdam, Paris, Dublin, Brussels, Copenhagen, Milan, New York and many more, with connections to 160 international destinations today. And this is about to get significantly bigger. In 2025, Spain announced a 1.5 billion investment to expand Malaga Airport. Terminal space nearly doubles from 80,000 to 140,000 square meters. Capacity rises to 36 million passengers per year by 2031. Construction will begin in 2028, with the airport staying fully operational throughout. Once complete, Malaga will connect to over 200 international destinations. Think about what that means for Marbella specifically. More routes, more markets, more buyers, more people able to visit even just for a weekend. And for residents, you can be in London for a meeting and back in time for dinner. Friends visit more easily, family comes more often. It's close enough that it stops feeling like a destination and starts feeling like a home base or a weekend getaway. Then there's the train. Malaga connects to Madrid via Spain AVE high-speed rail in around 2.5 hours. Visiting the capital for the weekend, one of my favorite plans. For residents, the train opens up the whole of Andalusia and beyond without needing to fly or drive. By car, the picture is even richer. Seville is around 2 hours from Marbella, Granada and the Alhambra 1.5 hours, Ronda 1 hour, one of the most beautiful towns in Andalusia with the oldest bull ring in Spain. And then there's the range of activities and things to do within this radius. Sierra Nevada, Europe's sunniest ski resort, over 100 kilometers of runs, seasons running November to May, is just 2.5 hours from Marbella. You can genuinely be on the ski in the morning and on the beach after lunch. It sounds like marketing. It's not. I've done it. That was just a Tuesday in February. Tarifa is 1 hour 15 minutes. It's the wind capital of Europe. Kite surfing, windsurfing, surfing, you got it all. The southernmost point of mainland Europe, where the Atlantic meets the Mediterranean, and you can see Morocco 14 kilometers across the water. An hour further, you're on a ferry. An hour further, you're in Tangier. So that's Africa in an afternoon. Then going back, we've got Caminito del Rey, about 80 minutes from Marbella. That's a 7.7 kilometer cliffside walkway through. For any age, it's a dramatic gorge to spend 100 meters above the river, one of the most spectacular walks in Spain. And the list just continues and continues. The point is that Marbella sits at the center of the most diverse and accessible regions in Europe. Within 2 hours, you have ski slopes, surf, beaches, Moorish palaces, Roman ruins, Atlantic coast, North Africa, British overseas territory, Gibraltar, national parks, white villages, flamenco in the salt villages. Most places that are rich this culturally are difficult to reach. From Marbella, it's an easy quick drive. You live in a resort, but Spain's cultural depth is kind of your backyard. Starlight Festival is worth mentioning too. It's been running here since 2012 in one of the most extraordinary venues that I've seen anywhere in the world. In La Cantera de Nagüeles, a former quarry in the hills above the city surrounded by 60-meter rock walls, just open to the sky. Roughly 3,000 seats per night, which is intimate by festival standards. The lineup every summer runs from June to August and has included Elton John, Andrea Bocelli, Lionel Richie, Sting, Santana, Ricky Martin. The Starlight Gala, that is co-organized by Antonio Banderas, runs alongside, and it's one of the most exclusive charity events in Spain. Not something that maybe people associate Marbella with, but it's been happening here every summer for over a decade, under the stars in a place that feels like nowhere else. In Marbella, we've got 153 nationalities living here as permanent residents. According to Spain's official notary statistic portal, which records completed transactions, 63% of all property purchases in Marbella in 2025 were by foreign buyers. British buyers led at around 13%, then Dutch, Swedish, German, and Polish. And recently growing number from North America and Middle East, driven in part by the new direct flights from those markets. Think about this, the average buyer is 52 years old. More than half of all the buyers are between 41 and 60. These are not retired people disappearing somewhere quiet. These are people in the middle of their careers and businesses who have decided consciously that Marbella is the best place to live for them. English is spoken everywhere, not sometimes, everywhere. Shops, restaurants, hotels, schools. If you don't speak Spanish, you will not struggle here at all. Something that goes often unsaid. The local Spanish community is genuinely very welcoming. Marbella as we know it has existed for barely 70 years. Before the 1950, this was a small fishing village. In 1954, Prince Alfonso von Hohenlohe opened the Marbella Club on land that he originally bought to build a private villa. And what he created, almost by accident, was the start of everything that followed. Within a decade, royalty, artists, industrialists, and film stars were coming. A fishing village became a place to be on the world map. Those beginnings matter because the locals grew up with international residents as part of their daily reality. It's not something they tolerate, it's built into the identity of the place. That's why the welcoming here feels different from other international destinations that grew maybe more reluctantly into their cosmopolitan status. There's also something interesting that happens socially in a community this diverse. Everyone, in a sense, is a newcomer. Nobody's been here for 400 years. That creates an unusual openness, connections form quickly. I've watched clients relocate here and have genuine social life within months, something that took them years in other cities. Related to this, there's a serious and growing community of entrepreneurs, founders, investors, and remote business owners here. Some are starting to call Costa del Sol as Costa del Tech. By the way, a documentary, Costa del Tech, was just launched a few days ago, and I was invited to say a few words. These are all people who have built something, who can choose where they work, and who have decided that Marbella works for them, not just for weekends, but as a base. Part of what drives this is Spain's fiscal environment as well. You got the Beckham Law, formally the special expatriate tax regime offers non-resident workers who relocate to Spain a flat income tax rate of 24% for the first 6 years. Combined with Spain's digital nomad visa, which allows remote workers to live legally in Spain while working for foreign companies, the tax and the residency case for Marbella has become genuinely compelling for international earners. But beyond the numbers, there's something about the culture here that works for this kind of people. Businesses in Marbella happen differently than the city. Deals and relationships form over golf, over long lunches, private events. For example, just a few days ago, we hosted to celebrate the International Women's Day, a private opera event in a 70 million villa in Sierra Blanca. These are world-class events happening in Marbella without anyone realizing, where networking happens at a totally different level. It's informal in a way that turns out to be extremely effective. And the community is still small enough that reputation matters and large enough that the right connections exist. The professional ecosystem has also matured significantly. We've got cross-border lawyers, international tax advisors, private banking, wealth management, property management, security, and infrastructure that high net worth individuals and businesses actually need is here. For anyone considering a permanent move, the first serious question is usually healthcare. And Marbella punches significantly above its weight for a city of 160,000. On the private side, where most international residents go, you've got HT Marbella, Hospital Ochoa, Quironsalud Hospitalet, and Seram. Several operate with English, German, French, and Dutch-speaking staff as a standard. Then you've got, of course, Hospital Costa del Sol, which is the main public facility that was recently expanded. And also the Butchinger Clinic is here. It's one of the most respected medical fasting and wellness centers in the world. People travel specifically from across Europe and beyond to attend it. Having that here tells you something about the level of medical specialization available in a place this size. You don't need to drive 2 hours to see a specialist. And then, schools. This is usually the second question from families, and the answer is one of the main reasons people end up committing to Marbella long term. You've got a law college, Swans International, Laude, San Pedro, British School Marbella, Grand International School, that's where I went, a German school, and many more. Most offer IB programs and British curriculum, which means children can apply to universities anywhere in the world without any disadvantage. For kids, Marbella is great. Personally though, when they turn 16 or 18, I would probably send them somewhere bigger. London, New York, Madrid, because I think it's important to experience a different kind of world before you settle. But as a foundation, as the place where you learn to be comfortable outdoors, to grow up in a generally international environment, to speak multiple languages without even thinking about it, Marbella is hard to argue with that. Then we've got food. The food scene here has changed dramatically in the last 10 years than almost anything else about this place. If you were here in 2015 and come back now, you'd barely recognize it. We've got 4 Michelin stars, with Skina leading as 2 stars, who recently moved into a stunning 19th century farmhouse on the Golden Mile. I was there just last weekend and I tell you it's worth paying a visit soon. We've got places like Puente Romano alone that has over 20 restaurants inside its grounds. Brands like Nobu, Koya, Cipriani, Gaia, and many more. Then the Marbella Club that was founded in 1954 and recently awarded 2 Michelin keys as a hotel has its own legendary dining, my absolute favorite. Then we've got Benavis Village. That's 20 minutes inland, think about this, over 20 restaurants for a village of 3,000 people. The highest restaurant to resident ratio in the region and possibly in Spain. People drive specifically to go there to eat. It's become a serious part of the local dining culture, not just a tourist detour. And then there's everything outside the big resorts, which has genuinely improved because 153 nationalities live here. The international food is real quality as the demand is there. When people ask me what's changed most about Marbella in the last decade, I always say it's the food and all the new brands that are coming here every year. By the way, remember you can download the link below, my personal list of my best 30 restaurants in Marbella in order, and my to-do list in Marbella with small kids and without if you want. The food for sure is one big part, but equally important, maybe more, is how much of life happens outdoor. The outdoor lifestyle is automatic, you don't have to build it into your routine. The weather makes it happen and the infrastructure is serious. We've got 11 golf courses within Marbella itself and over 70 on the wider Costa del Sol, which is also why people call this Costa del Golf. These are serious courses, some of the best, and available 12 months a year. La Zagaleta also deserves its own mention. Technically it's in Benavis, A few minutes inland, 900 hectares of private gated estate, 2 private golf courses, helipad, horse riding, around 230 plots, most with very large villas. There's no tourism, no visitors, by most measures, the most exclusive private residential estate in Europe. Got them paddle. Paddle has become genuinely the central point for social life here. And if you don't play, you'll be tempted to start every single day whoever you talk to. And it's very easy to start. That's why it's so popular. By the way, did you know that the first paddle court in Europe was built in Marbella at the Marbella Club? Then, speaking about infrastructure still, the Paseo Marítimo, the seafront promenade, runs 6.5 kilometers continuously from the center of Marbella to Porto Banús. Extended west, the full route reaches San Pedro de Alcántara, a total to around 12 kilometers. And there's also works being carried out to eventually connect all 27 kilometers of coastline from Marbella, passing by San Pedro until Estepona as one uninterrupted path. When that's complete, it'll be remarkable. The golf, the promenade, the outdoor life is available every month of the year, which brings me to something people who don't live here consistently get wrong about Marbella. They think of it as a summer place. Summer is exceptional. The energy, restaurants open late, beach clubs, the whole atmosphere, nothing quite like it. But summer is not what most permanent residents love the most. Autumn is when Marbella becomes itself again. September, October, November, the tourists leave, restaurants are quieter, it's still 25 to 25 degrees. Residents consistently say autumn is the favorite season. I say the same. Winter then, something different again. The beach is empty, you can walk the Paseo Marítimo on a Tuesday morning in January and it's yours. Golf courses are quiet, the best restaurants are easy to book. There's a stillness that is generally relaxing in a way that summer never allows it. And it's still sunny, still warm enough to have lunch outside. And everything is open, the restaurants don't close. Then you've got spring, which perhaps is the most beautiful. The hills green, flowers out, perfect temperature. The town starting to come alive again. The point is that Marbella just doesn't close. The short-term rental season here runs 9 to 10 months. Compare that to Ibiza, where you have 4 at max. 5 maybe. For anyone thinking about investment, that difference alone is significant. Now let me talk about what's actually being built here, because I think this is one of the most underappreciated parts of the Marbella story right now, and it's something that helps to define its long-term future potential. Currently, Marbella grows under the 1986 General City Plan. And I've seen many investors planning to execute hotels, developments, commercial centers, and backing out because the building norms and restrictions are designed for a small town that Marbella was in 1986. And now that's about to be changed. Marbella's new municipal plan received provisional approval in 2025 and is heading towards final ratification during 2026 and definitive approval in 27 and 28. Finally, we will have a clear, modern planning framework, legal certainty for existing homeowners, a defined structure for new construction, simple and faster building permits, and as always, the town hall prioritized nature with plans for 20 new large green spaces and 16 river parks. Also expanded road infrastructure, 28 new car parks within the city, and a land reserved for the future rail connections. And then there's something else happening at the top of the market that says a great deal about where Marbella is heading. Spain is now the European's capital of branded residence. That's luxury developments created in partnership with major international fashion and lifestyle brands. And Marbella has the highest concentration of them on the continent. And almost all are on the Golden Mile. We've got Fendi Casa, Karl Lagerfeld villas, Lamborghini villas, Bentley homes, Versace, Missoni, and a special mention to Dolce & Gabbana. Their first residential development in all of Europe is underway on the Golden Mile. That's around 90 residences, around 5 to 30 million plus, with over half sold before the construction started. When these brands all choose the same stretch of the coastline for the flagship European residential project, that's not a coincidence. These brands employ entire teams whose only job is to identify where the next 10 years of luxury demand is going towards. And repeatedly, the conclusion is Marbella. And in December 25, Hilton announced that the Waldorf Astoria is coming to Marbella. The first property in Spain. That's a 220 million investment, 120 hotel rooms plus 120 branded residences. Being designed by 3 Pritzker Prize winning architects, opening planned for 29. The Waldorf Astoria doesn't choose the wrong city for a Spanish debut, that I can be sure of. Combined with the airport expansion, the general plan, the picture, for me and for you, I think is clear. Marbella in 2030 will be measurably better connected, better planned, and better equipped than is today. And that trajectory is not speculative. It's funded, approved, and underway, and it's long-term. That's why when clients ask me about Marbella being a good long-term investment, I share that I think prices in real estate will continue growing for many years ahead. We have a unique place here, with future significant growth that anyone living long enough can clearly see. According to Spain's official notarial statistics portal, the latest average price in Marbella was 4,200 euros per square meter, and the average property sold for around 720,000 euros. That's more than 3 times Spain's national average of 200,000. Keep in mind that since 2020, prices have already increased by roughly 50%. At the ultra prime end, we've got fully refurbished apartments in Puente Romano that have achieved close to 25,000 per square meter. There was a beachfront resale in March 25 transacted at 40,000 euros per square meter. And these are not the average for sure, but they exist and they define the ceiling of what this market sustains. One number that I want to highlight because I think it's very memorable: 1 million euro buys you approximately 103 square meters in Marbella. The same money buys you around 65 square meters in London, around 60 in Saint-Tropez, 50 in Paris, 45 in Los Angeles, and of course in Monaco is just 19 square meters at best. These are the places, though, that buyers directly compare to Marbella. In Ibiza, for example, you get roughly 100 square meters too. And in Mallorca, around even 145. So it's similar numbers to Marbella, but those are touristic islands. Marbella offers far more. And supply here is generally short. New builds account for less than 8% of transactions. So over 90% of sales are being resales. There isn't enough new supply to meet demand, and construction constraints mean this changes slowly. Rental yields are strong. Long-term rents have increased to close to 100% since 2019. An apartment renting for 850 euros today goes for 1,600 and more. Short-term rentals are becoming more regulated, which is shifting some of the supply towards long-term leases, which in many cases is far better for yields. As an example also of market stability, Spain ended its Golden Visa real estate program in April 25, but Golden Visa purchases represent approximately 7% of total transactions in Marbella. And in the luxury segment at 1 million above, we saw essentially just no change in demand. The people buying at that level are not buying for a visa. They're buying because they want to live here or because they see Marbella as the right place for their capital, for their family, and there are many other ways available to obtain residency if you're interested in that. And broadly on stability, Marbella buyers base spans over 60 nationalities. The market has absorbed the 2008 financial crisis, the Eurozone crisis, COVID, Brexit. Every time one buyer group contracts, like Russian buyers in 2014 or British buyers post-Brexit, then another group expanded. And Northern American and Middle East buyers have grown meaningfully in the recent years. So the diversification is very wide, and it means that no single economic shock in one country affects this market. There's also a distinction worth making about the type of demand. Like 10, 15 years ago or before 2008, a meaningful portion of buying here was speculative. People were buying to flip, banks were lending freely, And that's not the current profile. Today's buyers are lifestyle-led. Most are buying to use, to live in, or to rent as a secondary income. That's a fair, more stable foundation. And my honest view, we have a strong base for the next 10 to 20 years. We've got better planning certainty, better connectivity, improving lifestyle offering, and the value gap versus comparable European luxury destination still continues. Marbella, like any city, has its complexities. There are also elements of crime that exist here, but they are largely self-contained. They're operating in a world that has nothing to do with the people who live, visit, or invest here. What residents experience day to day is something far simpler, a place where you feel at ease, where you walk at night without thinking about it, where children play outside in the evening, and dinner at midnight on a terrace feels completely normal. For buyers coming from larger cities or from parts of the world where personal security is a more constant concern, that ease is one of the first things they notice. And often, one of the last things they also expect. Also, the party atmosphere exists in Marbella too, mostly in Port Banús and lower parts of Andalusia, but Marbella is large enough that it stays in one corner. You can live here a full year and never encounter it if that's not where you want to be. On any other beach destinations or islands, you just don't have that separation. In peak summer, also July and August, estimates put the real population at somewhere between 400,000 and 600,000 people. So basically, Marbella multiplies in the amount of people. And traffic can get also annoying at some intersections, especially for us locals who are used to be no traffic. But it's just 2 months. And then in September, Marbella breathes out again, which is exactly why residents probably love autumn so much. And not everywhere is for everyone. If you are building something from scratch, a career, a business, a network, and you need the pressure, a density of a major city to do it, Marbella is not your moment. The friction that big cities provide, the critical mass of competition opportunity shapes people in ways that a comfortable place cannot. Marbella, therefore, is not a starting line in your career. It's more like a reward, a place you come to when quality of daily life matters as much as or more than maximum professional acceleration. Most people who move here permanently have reached that point. The average buyer age, 52, says something about this. So does the profile. Entrepreneurs, investors, remote professionals, people who have already built something and can now choose where to be in the world. I've lived here my entire life, and I'm not planning to change that. Not because I haven't considered other places, but because when I imagine my life 10 or 20 years from now, Marbella keeps winning the comparison by miles every single time. So I hope to see you one day in Marbella. Remember to check out the link below with my top restaurants and to-do list. I see you soon.